Remember when fixing the sink didn't require a TikTok video and a prayer?
And sewing a button wasn't considered a lost art? We've officially lost the plot.
This is Tab. She knows how to pressure can without blowing up the kitchen.
And this is Jim. He once built a house in 90 days using blueprints, badassery, and a nail gun.
And together we're Unretired AF.
Well, hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Unretired AF podcast, the podcast for the over 60s who are not ready to go quietly into the night. We want to start off by saying thank you to all of our subscribers. We really appreciate it. Welcome if this is your first time to the channel. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. And we ask that you consider hitting the subscribe button and join our tribe.
Yeah.
All right. Today, we're going to kick this off with a little obituary because basic life skills seem to be dead and buried.
Yeah.
When I was growing up in the 60s and the 70s, everybody knew how to do stuff. I mean, the girls were taught how to sew, and we would do, I don't know, a lot of my friends, bought patterns and fabric and sewed from scratch and made their own clothes. Especially when all the fancy sewing machines came out in the 70s with the zigzag pattern and my mom had one that had fish and other weird shit she would make on our little outfits. But we all learned how to do at least basic mending. We could sew a button on.
Yeah.
We could hem pants. If we bought pants that were too long, we could hem them. We could put a patch on something if it got a hole in it. I mean, I remember seeing my grandmother darn socks. She knew how to do that. We learned how to cook, basic stuff. I mean, I took home ec, but home ec was kind of a refresher for me because my mom was pretty good about teaching me how to make stuff. By the time I was 10, I could cook a whole meal for my family and no problem. I mean, I had basic cooking skills. I baked a lot. I was taught how to do that. And then I think girls were also taught, just basic house budgeting. Like you'd have a budget for your groceries for the week. And what are you going to do with that? And how are you going to make meals from it? You can have a meal plan, go to the store, get stuff, stay within your budget.
Yeah.
Girls were taught that kind of thing.
Yeah. So as boys, we learned basic car repair. I can remember my dad, I was young, and opened up the hood, showed me where the dipstick was for the oil, where it should be, showed me if the car ever overheated, where to put water in, the radiator, showed me or gave me, like it was like sacred, gave me my own pressure gauge for the tires. It was like big cool. Time, man.
Yeah. Rite of passage.
Yeah, rite of passage, exactly. I was fortunate. My dad was a engineer and contractor, and he showed me basic woodworking skills. Showed me how to look for straight lumber to buy stuff. Showed me how to use a hammer, how to use a tape measure. That was like a big deal. And I guess the biggest thing is he showed me how to do general maintenance. So, there was never a question if we ever had to hire anybody, because between he and I, it could be fixed. Now, I can remember when my buddy, my best friend, he and I were big fishing buddies, his dad decided that we were going to be his labor when we were 11 to replace their roof.
That was pretty
So I learned how to put a shingle roof on when I was 11.
That's funny.
And you know what? We never complained.
Right.
We didn't do anything because we knew there was going to be something good come out of it. And there was. It was a life experience.
Right.
So I think we were in the generation or the age where we all strived to be able to do our own stuff because if you didn't, it didn't get done.
Right. Well, when I was in high school, my dad made me take a shop.
That's awesome.
auto shop.
Yeah.
I was the only girl in there, but he's like, look, if you're going to be driving older cars, which I did, I mean, and he's like, I don't want you out there stranded on the road. And he taught me some stuff, but he made me take auto shop to understand like basic theory of it. You know, a lot of it doesn't apply today.
I know.
But,
and make no mistake about it. The YouTube videos that are on about repairing something, they're very, very useful.
Yeah.
They're very useful.
Yeah.
But they are even more useful if you actually know what you're trying to do. To look at a YouTube video and never having seen anything, and all of a sudden this guy's tearing down an engine block, you're not even going to know what tools to use. But it's a great tool if you're hands-on.
Well, I mean, I think it's not a substitute.
No.
I mean, I think YouTube videos are great, and I've learned how to do a ton of things. There's hardly anything that you can't get a YouTube video tutorial on. But there's certain things, like I know when I was canning and learning how to can. I canned with my mom, but I was doing it under duress when I was like 12. So I wasn't really paying attention. But, you know, like they'll say, for instance, you know, when you're putting the food in there and getting it ready to put in the pressure canner, they'll say, get it finger tight. You can't, a YouTube video can't help you understand what what finger tight means, you know, whereas when you're with another person that's showing you, they can show you what that means. And I'm sure that same thing applies to a lot of guys.
Absolutely.
It's like learning hands-on. I mean, YouTube videos are a great substitute when we don't have anything else.
Yeah.
But it's not the same as, and probably we make a little bit more errors because we don't have that hands-on.
Right.
You know, but it's still, like you said, it's still really valuable.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of skills, let's talk about what used to be considered basic guy skills before it got labeled as being optional.
Men used to be able to build and fix most anything. If you had a set of tools and any kind of snap, you could generally figure it out. Now, it may not look the prettiest, but you could generally make something functional.
Yeah.
Now, when I was coming up, I always had boats. And as all of you know, boats break. And if you didn't figure out how to fix a boat, you either got stranded or you didn't go. So it's one of those things that, you know, everything, a car, no matter what, everything starts with a spark plug. Unless today, and I'm talking old school, not today's fuel ignition and all that stuff. But there are certain things that, you know, even like in my backpack, my school backpack, I had tools in there.
Really?
Because you never knew when, because I always drove old stuff too. And sometimes if you had an old car you had to wipe the spark plug off to get it to work. But, you know, there just wasn't much that we couldn't do. There was plumbing issues. You just fixed it. You didn't call a plumber.
Right.
You just fixed it.
Well, exactly.
You know?
I mean, it had to be a really big problem.
Really big problem.
I mean, I would say, would you agree with this statement that when you and I were coming up, every guy was a handyman?
Yeah.
He would have like handyman level skills.
Yep.
So they could do basic handyman stuff.
Yep.
And you only had to call somebody if it was beyond that skill, like electrician, and you had to do, you know, something major.
Yeah.
But I mean, guys I knew how to install a ceiling fan.
Sure.
Where you had to, like, you know, I don't know what they would call it, but when you splice it into the wire. And, you know, they knew how to do just basic stuff.
I mean, a lot of us didn't know anything about air conditioning because it was new.
Right.
We didn't really know, like, I had no idea at all how to fix an electronic or a radio.
Right.
You know, we had
some people did, though.
Yeah.
I mean, some people from that generation
but
did.
that was when you could take it to a small appliance shop and they'd fix it for $8 and have it to you the next day.
Did you ever have where you lived, did you ever have where the guys, mostly guys, I didn't see any girls that ever did it in our time, where they would do like the soapbox derby and they'd make their own cars to race? And those were wood.
Younger. Yeah. That was like a Cub Scout kind of thing. Yeah.
It was?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So they were like little kids making wood cars. Were they doing it on their own or with their dad?
Now, are you talking the little cars?
No, they get in it, and it would be like
Oh.
they called it the soapbox derby. It would be a big enough car for the
No.
person to be in.
We didn't have any hills.
No.
I grew up flat, so it would be a push along car.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so no,
You
I
know,
didn't have
but
that.
they did that. I mean, I remember guys, because I grew up in Central Illinois, and a lot of people had decks in their backyard, wood decks in their backyard. And I remember that would be like a weekend project. You know, a couple of guys would get together with some couple 6-packs of beer, and they'd build a deck over the weekend. And it didn't. It wasn't considered like the women didn't stand around and go, "Oh my God, look what they did!
Right.
They're amazing." Where how it would be now,
Right.
you know, because it's so amazing when people do.
Or change, or replace people's siding.
Right, they did that.
Or
too.
even if you had a big lawnmower, helping somebody mow their
Right.
big ass yard.
Or fix their lawnmower.
Or fix their lawnmower.
Now they would do small motor repairs too with lawnmowers.
Sure.
Or, I mean, nobody went and just like their lawnmower broke and they just went to Sears and got a new lawnmower. No, they fixed that shit.
Yeah.
And they figured out how to fix it because, you know, it's just how we were raised. We just didn't replace things that could be fixed. Now, to be fair, in this generation, they don't make things to be fixed.
No. I mean, I came from the generation where you would go up and down the road looking for bottles in the ditch to sell them for a nickel.
We had our wagon and we would do that and go and get it. And you know, that was our spending money, whatever we could find and the bottles to, you know, I didn't even call it recycling then. That was later. They called it something.
Deposit.
Get your bottle deposit back.
Bottle deposit
back. Yeah. So that's kind of weird. But I mean, we see now, you know, if guys know how to do any of this stuff that we're talking about,
right?
Society seems to label it toxic masculinity, which is such horseshit. What it seems like to me, it seems like, you know, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, so, you know, this won't be a surprise for you. But it just seems like there's like a target on society for all of us, men and women, to be made guilty to do and be self-sufficient. In the sort of traditional gender things. You know, so now if a guy knows how to do, you know, stuff, it's like toxic masculinity.
Yeah. I
don't think that's right.
I mean, either.
Because in other countries, men know how to do all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
And they're far more self-sufficient than we are here now.
Right.
And nobody's complaining that they have toxic masculinity.
No. And just because you know how to fix something, I mean, trust me, there's nothing about being macho about that.
Right. But you're an asshole because you know how to do stuff.
It's all about being useful,
right?
Capable, independent.
Most important,
and having pride in knowing that you are able to fix your own shit.
Right. Well, and don't worry, ladies, we are not getting off the hook either. I mean, women used to know how to do a lot of stuff. Like just beyond the basic stuff that we already mentioned, like sewing and cooking and sort of running a household. I mean, my grandmother, she had, when she and my grandfather got married, they got a furniture set, which they took a big loan out on from Ethan Allen.
Wow.
But they had that set their whole life. And it was like wooden. You remember the kind that was wooden? It wasn't like padded arms. It was all wood and had wood slats on the seat and the back. And then she had cushions. And so she knew how to do the cushions, and every, 5 to 6 years, she would make new cushions and replace the cushions on it. And so she did some like upholstery work with the piping, because they had, it was cushions with the piping and a zipper. Yeah. She knew how to do that. I mean, women used to know how to do, like what I've been doing, since 23 is doing food preservation. I mean, I grew up in Central Illinois where we could get snowed in in, and it would be, it could be a few days to a week before the snowplow could get in to where we could actually leave the house.
Yeah.
And so my mom always canned, and we had one of our bedrooms in our house. We lived in the country, and our farmhouse was dedicated to her canning, all her food preservation. So, we had dried food, we had dried beans and rice and stuff like that, but we also had all of her canned jams and jellies and preserves, stew,
Nice.
all kinds of stuff. So if something happened, you weren't panicking.
Yeah.
You could survive. I'm sure you went through some similar things with living in the Gulf Coast.
Yeah. I mean, we always had fresh fish because we could walk down to the beach and catch it.
Right.
We always had fresh shrimp and flounder because we could net it or gig it.
Well, I'm meaning like to be prepared, because I mean, when you lived there, didn't you deal with hurricanes?
We did. We did. So you had to be very creative and resourceful on food storage, on protection.
Right.
Number one.
And we're not talking about prepper shit here.
No.
We're talking about,
Real
it's
life.
probably a good idea to have a couple weeks worth of food in case the shit hits the fan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, that was really before the time of bottled water.
Right. Right.
But everybody had like 1 gallon plastic jugs of water.
Right.
And we learned real quick, if there's a storm coming, you fill your bathtubs up.
Right.
You don't worry about taking a bath. You need that water to flush the commode or whatever.
Right.
But, it was just different then, too. If something happened, everybody chipped in to help their neighbor. All the men were out cutting trees down or fixing doors or helping them board up windows. It just was the way it was done. There was, I felt, much more sense of community then than there is now.
Well, and going back to the women's side, because we've already, beat down the men in the younger generation in the sense of what they don't know how to do, which is sad. And hopefully we can be a part of changing that, but for the women, I mean, I think that, like you're saying, the sense of community, my mom used to entertain all the time. And when anybody had something happen in their family, she'd make food, and if somebody died, they would take food to them, and that was frequent. I mean, because in a small town with I think the town that she grew up in was like 10,000 people. Same with the town that we lived in Central Illinois too. And so you knew everybody. And so when somebody older died, the women all made sure that they took food over and cooked. So we all had our basic casserole recipes that were for that specific thing. Good comfort food, good Midwestern comfort food that went for that. But now it seems like if women do that sort of thing, they get labeled, the trad wife, traditional wife, which is like bullshit. I mean, I think that in a lot of ways, a lot of women now in the younger generations want to be traditional wives. They want that. But there's a certain segment of society that makes it seem like it's bad, or that it's an outdated gender trap for them to even consider that, which is sad. It is so sad. There's a lot of fulfillment in it, and it doesn't have to look the way that it looked for our grandparents. It can look a different way. Right.
So I know that my grandma could stretch a roast. She could have a 1 pound roast and add 50 pounds of vegetables in it, and everybody would get full.
Exactly.
And you're that way too. I mean, you can always make something out of nothing, and you do.
I learned from my mom and grandma, though. I did. My granny.
So now what happens? When was the last time you saw a pair of patched jeans?
Right.
You don't.
They just get pitched.
They pitch, or they walk around with holes in all their jeans, and they pay big money for those holes. Man.
Well, and that's a style.
I'd be a bazillionaire if I would have
That's a style situation. But, just the fact that they don't know how to repair things. I mean, and it's weird, when you think about it, like when I was growing up, we used to have somebody that my dad would take his shoes to because he bought expensive shoes for work. And he had somebody he would take his shoes to that would replace the soles on his
Soles,
shoes, whatever. Now people just throw away their shoes.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a shoe repair? Have you seen a shoe repair?
I have.
Okay, but they're
have.
not very, very common anymore, like it
No.
used to be. And there used to be like a lady in our town that did alterations,
Yeah.
because everybody, there were a lot of working moms too
Yeah.
in our generation. So, and even, a lot of the women weren't jack of all trades. They might be good at cooking and stuff, but they
Right.
weren't good at sewing. So there was somebody, but I don't even know if people send stuff out to be altered, unless it's like you're getting married and you have you fancy something fancy to wear or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. I don't see the little shops anymore for those types.
The only one I know of is attached to the dry cleaner.
Right.
That's the only alterations place I know.
Well, and now, now homemaking is being labeled as oppression. You're oppressed if anybody expects you to make a home. But, the trade-off is you've got these women, they're so stressed out because they're expected to be, if they're mothers, are expected to be a good mom.
Right.
Expected to sort of take care of the house and do all that. And they're expected to earn.
Yeah.
Whereas before, women weren't. I mean, they did all that stuff, but there wasn't that same expectation to earn. So I get where they're coming from, but I think I don't think having those skills is not oppressive. It's pretty badass actually when you think about it, because it means you're creative. You can solve problems. You can figure shit out. You're resourceful, and you're not dependent on anybody.
Right. I mean, if the shit really did hit the fan, I mean, you're fortunate you can throw a meal together with whatever we have.
In my solar oven,
solar oven, right.
Because I have been resourceful enough to source that out too.
And there's a lot of people that can't.
I mean, we're ready if we have like rolling brownouts, which they're talking about. We have an energy crisis, and it's happening in California, and it's probably going to happen here at some point. So we're not going to be. We'll just be hot, but we won't be hungry.
Right. Right.
If it happens in the summer.
So, the one big thing is you got to learn to survive when Amazon's probably not coming.
Right.
And if there's some sort of crisis, trust me, Amazon is not going to deliver. So you got to learn to use what you have and make it stretch.
Yeah. Well, so how did we lose it all? I mean, really, the answer is convenience. And we got tricked. I mean, it's been slowly eroding away since the 90s because of convenience.
Yeah.
Well, and now everything is pre-made, pre-assembled, pre-packaged, and I'm not just talking about food. I'm talking about everything.
Yeah.
And that came at a cost for us as a society, that convenience of having everything like that. It came in the loss of skills.
Yeah.
So you've got men and women that have lost basic skills because they don't have to do it anymore.
Right.
It came in loss of confidence. And you can see when you look at the younger generations, they don't have the confidence that we have. The boomers and the Gen Xers, we talk about often on our show that we often were the unsupervised generation. We had to figure shit out.
Yeah.
But it also made us confident.
Right.
And the younger generation doesn't have that. They lack that confidence that we had. And it also eroded our independence because now we are so dependent on the electric company.
Right.
We're dependent on the grocery stores.
Yeah.
We're dependent on other countries to make our shit for us because we don't know how to do it anymore.
But even at the grocery store, I can remember growing up as a kid that every grocery store you went to, they had bulk items.
Yeah.
Where you could buy as much rice as you wanted or flour as you wanted or that.
Yeah, but you got to do something with it. You can't leave it in those containers.
But if you're canning or if you're using it, there's what? I only know of 2 places that have bulk stuff now that we can go to.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
no, that's true.
So it used to be, anybody that has any kind of carpentry skills, it used to be measure twice, cut once. That was, by God, the creed.
Same with sewing too.
Yeah. Now, what do? Now we just tap to reorder.
Right.
You know,
We throw it away and we
just
get a
throw
new
it
one.
away, get a new one.
Now, don't you think a lot of the shit that we have now is not made to be,
Oh, absolutely.
it's crap. I mean,
Absolutely.
and you can't make another one. Like,
No.
Well,
that's because, the majority of stuff is made in plastic and not
made
metal
in plastic, it's molded.
Yeah.
Nobody can do that stuff anymore.
So,
yeah, it's crap.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I've noticed that very much on car parts.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that used to be, I don't know if anybody's had any accident or anything lately and you needed to get a new bumper. You might as well
You got to tell the story.
Get a blob of plastic because there is no steel in it. Right. So, yes, I was in an accident. A fender bender, and I needed to replace the front bumper. So I went and got a front bumper, and my old tight ass decided that I could go on Craigslist and find a painter that would paint it and match. So I went to the body shop, the local body shop. They were like $1,200 to do it. I'm like, I'm not paying $1,200 for a bumper. Well, let me tell you why you should do that. The guy on Craigslist, although he was nice, he didn't have a very good shop. Well, he didn't use the right primer. So for 3 days, I had a beautiful car.
Looked beautiful. Paint matched perfectly.
And then I went to the car wash. And I came back and I'm
going to insert a picture right here.
It wasn't so beautiful anymore. So, yes, all the paint came off from the high pressure spray. Yes, everybody teases me about it, but I don't care.
We go hard on the teasing.
It's mine and it's paid for.
We go hard on the teasing. We went last night to our trivia night, which we're still doing.
Yes,
we won one round last night. And when we left and we were all standing in the parking lot, everybody was making fun of our bumper.
Yes, they were making fun of our car.
Because all the paint got blown off at the car wash.
Oh, well. It gives people something to talk about.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So back to our episode. If the grid does go down, I mean, what do we do? Do you feel like you would be okay if let's say we here in Phoenix we had a brownout, or let's say you live somewhere that has hurricanes, or and the power goes out, or in the areas where there's flooding, maybe you don't get flooded, but I'm sure that affects the power in those areas. And let's say your power's out for a week or 2 weeks, or let's say you're in there's lots of natural disasters going on all the time.
Right.
Would you be prepared? Would you have emergency lighting? Do you have, we're not talking, like I said, we're not talking prepper shit. We're not talking, going out and buying 40 acres, 100 miles from anything and being weird. We're talking about, and not that that's weird, but a lot of people think it's weird. Or they think it's not the average thing we don't do that, but we are prepared if the power goes out for a week or two, and we just say it's good to have a contingency plan if that happens. So how do we get back to that? So people are prepared.
Well, people have to really open their mind and know and think that the what's the word I'm looking for? The convenience of turning a light switch on and the power to automatically be there can go away very, very quickly.
Right.
I grew up in a hurricane prone area. We had hurricanes that would come through.
South Mississippi.
Yeah. And we wouldn't have power sometimes for a month. So what did you do?
That long, huh?
Yeah, it just depends on if the major transmission lines were down. Okay. Now, all the power companies from the United States, they really come together, and there's linemen everywhere. I mean, remember when we were in Louisiana a couple of years ago? They had linemen from everywhere trying to get stuff back together. But that's another double-edged sword, because a lot of these power companies now aren't keeping a supply of things like they used to. they're just not doing it because, well, fiduciarily, they can't afford to. And even though I'm not going to get into the whole rate base about power companies, but all of the grid and all of the equipment is getting very antiquated, and you need to know that. And when something goes down, it may not pop back on real quick. So you just need to be prepared. There's a lot of ways to prepare yourself, but I can tell you from experience, everybody has to have fresh water. You can do just about anything if you have fresh water. So the rest of it's just kind of extra.
So what do we do to get the young generation to have these skills?
Well, I think you really need to bring back like shop class. Mm-hmm. You need to bring back like a home economics class.
Right.
You need to.
And guys need to be in there too.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many guys don't even know how to feed themselves.
Well, it just amazes me how society has just let critical thinking go by the wayside. Right. They depend on Google or whatever for everything instead of trying to figure something out. That is going to be, that's people's demise.
And not just figure something out, but to determine if it's bullshit or not.
Right.
That's really to have some discernment to be able to, our generation has a pretty effective, I think, bullshit meter.
Yeah.
I think there are some that with some of the modern technologies, maybe they don't detect it because it's different. Yeah. But I think when it's a face-to-face interaction with a human being, I think they have pretty good
I would
pretty
agree
good
with
bullshit, detector on that. You're right. We got to bring all this stuff back. The younger generations have been ripped off with, and part of it was our generation. As parents, we were told that if our kids didn't go to college, that they weren't going to make it in the world. Yeah. And that's horseshit. So now we've got, and we did an episode last week, I think, or the week before, on how deficient the manpower is in the trades here in the United States. It's like, it's great if we bring all these jobs back, but who's going to do them? Because we are really deficient in manufacturing, skilled workers, and in all the construction trades. Yeah. We're super deficient, like to the tune of like 1 million short between this year and next year, what they're projecting in the amount of jobs that are needed, that we're really short. So that stuff has to come back. So do you have anything more on that?
Well, yeah. And just to reiterate that, I have a friend, and I mentioned this before, that they have over 3,000 building permits right now pulled in Phoenix, and they can't find enough help to get those done. Those are houses just waiting to be built.
And that's a framing company, right?
That's a framing company, right.
So they're short on framers, carpenters, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think the takeaway from this episode is, you don't have to become like a pioneer and be all there churning your butter and forging steel. But you just, at least learn how to sew a freaking button on. Yeah. Or if you know how to do those things, the things that we've been talking about throughout this episode, make sure that you get with your grandkids and even your own kids and make sure that they, learn how to do that. Honestly, teach your sons how to reset a breaker. Teach your daughters how to reset a breaker. Right. Your grandsons and your granddaughters. Right. It's got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So we think self-sufficiency is a survival skill.
Absolutely.
The way things are going in our crazy world right now, everybody really needs to lean into it. Yeah. Open your eyes and just see if something happens, what am I going to do?
Right. Well, and if you lack those skills, whether you're in our generation, whether you're a boomer or a Gen Xer, or if you're a millennial, we know we get a lot of millennials and Gen Z watching our channel because I can see the demographics and the analytics. Pick one thing, just one thing, and learn how to make it or fix it or build it. Do something, and you will find when you do it, you're going to feel like a damn wizard. I know when I pull out a jar that I made of freaking, cherry pie filling, and I make a pie,
good.
and it is freaking good.
It's good.
And I'm amazed with myself. I look at that and I'm like, it feels very satisfying to make something.
Yeah.
I mean, don't you feel the same? Like when you've done
Absolutely.
something, like Jim made a beautiful bar. I'll put a picture of it up here right now on our boat. And it has lights underneath that come through the Scotch bottles. And that was just the craftsmanship on it was just so good. And I think we all feel proud when we do something.
Absolutely.
And whatever.
Absolutely. So our goal is to remind people that we aren't obsolete.
No.
None
of you.
Skills.
Yeah.
We have skills.
Yes.
We're the last generation that really knows how to do shit. And we need to pass that on.
Yeah.
You guys want something to do? Offer your skills.
Yeah.
Start a class. Ask somebody if they need help with it.
Yeah.
So carry on.
Yeah.
We have a comment section. If any of you have a comment on this, I know we've been a little long-winded, but it's just real important to us to talk about this issue.
Yeah.
If you have anything to say or any suggestions, drop it in our comments. We'll certainly come back at you on it. And again, thank you for all our subscribers. We really appreciate you all taking an interest in our channel.
Yeah. And if you've done something, if you started something in your community that you want to share with us and share with our viewers that are reading the comments, please do. It would be a great help. It would be a great help to all of us.
Absolutely.
Well, if you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to see more of our content in your feed, we put out a new episode every weekday, Monday through Friday. And we would love if you would subscribe to our channel and join the Unretired AF revolution. Well, we're not slowing down.
And neither should you. And together,
we're Unretired AF.